Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video of Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Senna supplementary guide talking about full carry mode Senna. So before that, of course, as usual, don't forget to check out Senna's basic guide that I'll put up in the cards above to check out her skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as some combos. So without further ado, let's jump straight into Senna's loadout. So firstly, main reason why this is a supplementary guide and not an updated complete guide is because honestly I feel like the tanky version of Senna is just better, because with the tanky version of Senna you have a lot more survivability and you can still do a decent amount of damage, whereas with this build it's pretty much kind of almost like a full ADC kind of build and you're super duper squishy. You get one shot by assassins and whatnot, and honestly I do think that while this build is good in matches that you want to be the carry and you know you have tanks on your team and such, but honestly I think that the other build is simply better for more scenarios, so I don't think this is the main build. So first up, we start off with the Spectral Sickle, which is of course our support item. It's pretty much the only support item Senna wants to get, because generally she plays very aggressive in the early game and she wants to you know, poke the enemies out, and you're probably not playing her right anyways, so Spectral Sickle is the way to go, and also the fastest charging support item. Next up, you get Mana Immune, which is going to be your scaling item. Mana Immune, of course, gives you the mana, the ability haste, as well as, of course, the on-hit damage on your abilities, as well as your auto attacks when you evolve it into the Mirror Mana. Of course, this is really good because, number one, Senna has huge mana issues. This is going to help tremendously. Number two, this is going to help with Senna's scaling, because obviously she is strong in the early game, surprisingly, but her late game is where, you know, she is really strong as well. So this is kind of going to make her late game a lot better as well. So next up, your boots. So your boots, you generally want to go for defensive options, because honestly Senna doesn't really benefit a lot from other boots like Gluttonous Greaves or Berserker's Greaves. Doesn't really help her all that much. She already has healing from her Q, and you know, attack speed doesn't really help her at all. Boots of Mana doesn't really help that much. You could technically go for Lucidity Boots or Lethality Boots if you really like it, but honestly I think that the defensive boots are so much more useful majority of the time. Of course, depending on whether the enemy team is heavy in AD or AP, or if they, you know, have you know, some AP assassin that is likely to kill you, then you go for, you know, whatever you need to. So now, for your second proper item, you have a couple of options. So the options are, basically, I think I put Serpent's Fang as my default option because I find that a lot of times that they are shielding. So this is going to give you 15 armor pen, is going to give you AD, ability haste, but most importantly the Shield Weaver passive to, of course, help you shred enemy shields. Now in matches where there isn't shielding and there is instead like a lot of hooks and such, let's say there's a Thresh support, and let's say we have a Nautilus jungle, maybe Age of Night could be a better option instead, because it of course gives you health, AD, armor pen as well, although a lot less armor pen, but it gives you the spell shield, which is going to help protect you against those rogue spells. And then of course, if there is conflicting, like let's say there's a lot of shielding and there's hooks at the same time, you can of course decide which one you want. And then aside from that, your next option is going to be Black Cleaver. And I think Black Cleaver is all around the best kind of default option, because you get the health, which makes you a lot more tanky, you get ability haste and AD, which is stats that you want, and of course you also get the movement speed passive, which is going to combine with your own movement speed passive to make you a lot more mobile, and also the Sunder passive, which applies a little bit of armor penetration. But overall I think Black Cleaver is the best default option, because it gives you the best kind of stats amongst all of these. And then you have two other options for your second item choice, which is going to be Divine Sunder against tanky teams, which is going to help you heal as well as shred tanks a lot more. I haven't gone for this in months, so honestly I don't think this is that good of an item for Senna anymore. But what I do think is a really good item for Senna is actually Iceborne Gauntlet, because Iceborne Gauntlet looks like a very defensive item, and it kind of is. It gives you health and armor, but it also gives you mana, which, don't forget, is going to combo with your Mirror Mana, which is going to convert into damage. It gives you a huge amount of ability haste, and also the Spell Blade, of course, scales off of bonus armor. Now it scales off 100% base AD, but you have to notice that Senna doesn't actually have her base AD doesn't actually increase, because it increases because from her souls. So this is going to deal very little damage. That's the kind of main issue with Iceborne Gauntlet. It's just a lot more defensive and utility option, which is going to allow you to, of course, slow enemies down as well as get extra armor and health to prevent yourself from dying. So generally I choose between Serpent's Fang, Edge of Night, as well as Black Cleaver. I rarely go for Divine Sunder or Iceborne Gauntlet because they just don't suit my playstyle, and it's a lot less carry oriented than the other three options. So after you get your first 2 items, you're now onto your 3rd item. Your 3rd item is generally always going to be Runan's Hurricane, because when you're carrying on Senna, Runan's Hurricane is going to help you attack 3 people at one go. It's going to proc your passive on 3 people at one go, like sucking the souls out of them, and you know, it's just basically going to increase your damage by a lot because you can attack 3 people at one time. And for your last item option, if you even get there, which most of the time you do not, I go for Quick Blades to just get faster cooldowns on all of my abilities. By this point, you probably are going to be 100% crit already, because the 25% crit plus 25% crit and plus your crit from your passive, you're going to be at 100% crit by this point, so Quick Blades is going to be very helpful. Now, another option you have is actually going to be Rapid Fire Cannon instead of either Runan's or Quick Blades, but personally, I think that Rapid Fire Cannon is a little bit of overkill, because I don't think that the range is that helpful for Senna, because she already has really high range by the time you build your you know, 3rd item. So anyways, aside from that, you also can go for Maul Reminder instead as a last item instead of the Navari Quick Blades if you need a lot of armor penetration. Or if there is healing on the enemy team, you can go for early Grievous Wounds and then proceed on to building the Maul Reminder later on as your last item. So for the runes, of course, going for like carry kind of Senna, you want to go for Kraken Slayer, which is going to give you the most damage output. Of course, you can Q, you can auto as a combo to proc Kraken Slayer really easily. Really useful both in lane as well as in the late game. And then actually for Senna, it's pretty interesting because for your main rune choice, normally you actually go for Domination instead of Precision. Now you could go for Precision actually, but Precision you would go for, of course, Brutal, and then you could go for either Coup de Grace or Giant Slayer as usual. And for your last item, for your last legend option, you honestly don't want a Legend Alacrity because Senna doesn't work with attack speed. You already have enough healing, so you don't really need Bloodline, although it doesn't really hurt. So you could honestly go for Legend Tenacity, but the main reason why you don't take these runes is because the last rune option is something you don't really want, whereas with Domination, all the rune options are things that you want. First up, you got Shield Bash, which is going to let you deal extra damage whenever you receive a healing or shielding effect, which for Senna, she can prop on herself with both her ulti as well as her Q, so this is pretty much going to be up whenever it's off cooldown, more or less. Then you have Empowered Attack, which is going to allow you to deal bonus damage on your auto attacks. And then you have Zombie Ward, or you could go for Eyeball Collection, you know, of course, you know, to allow you to get more AD. Zombie Ward I think is way more useful because obviously as a support you get the utility of being able to place down more wards by destroying the enemy wards, but of course it can be very hard to proc, especially if your teammates do not cooperate. And then for your secondary rune, you honestly have a myriad of choices. My personal choice is going to be Bone Plating, of course, for the defensive capabilities. However, your options could be Brutal. Brutal, of course, works very well on Senna because, of course, we know that Senna does a lot of auto attack damage. It could be Giant Slayer against a very tanky team. Also, it's going to be really helpful. Of course, for your defensive options, you have, as I mentioned, you can go for Bone Plating, but aside from Bone Plating, you can also go for Font of Life for even more support kind of capabilities. And then you can also go for Revitalize, which is of course going to give you increased healing and shielding effects on your allies. This doesn't work on yourself, it only works on your allies, which is the main reason why I don't take this, because if I'm building this kind of build, I'm planning to carry. I don't want to buff my allies, I want to buff myself. And then Overgrowth, which is going to help yourself by of course getting more health. And then, because Senna has mana issues, you can even go for Mana Flow Ban. So really, it's kind of really what you prefer and what you like for your secondary rune choice, but I just go for Bone Plating because that's what I like. Of course, for the spells, you take Flash, and because you're a support, you take Heal. Also really useful to give yourself the movement speed and such. But aside from this, you could also, of course, go for more selfish options, like for example, Barrier to survive, or if your ADC didn't take Exhaust, you can, of course, and should, of course, take Exhaust. But with all that out the way, we can finally move on to talking about our gameplay. Okay, so now straight into the gameplay. Now, in case anybody is wondering why I'm picking Senna with this kind of team comp and against this kind of team comp, it's basically because I'm obviously support and I was put as first pick. No one wanted to swap with me, so I had to pick first. So I picked Senna. And my top lane, Ashe, by the way, was hovering champions like Set, Nautilus, and even Thresh, but eventually ended up picking Ashe. So we have an Ashe top lane completely squishy, we have like a Yone in the jungle completely squishy, so it's Katarina, myself, as well as Tristana. So honestly, I initially thought of going for the tanky Senna build, but I realized that, you know, what's the point, right? Like, some interesting concept is something like, you know, if everybody is squishy on your team, the enemy team has to pick one squishy to go for. So, you know, why build tank? Just be another one of those squishies. So, there's probably the biggest threat to our team is Kane, because Kane obviously is going to just assassinate us, assuming he's going for Shadow Assassin form, which may not be the case because he has Conqueror, but probably the second biggest threat is if we somehow all stand together and get hit by one Orianna ult. Because we're all squishy, we're just going to get one shot from a good Orianna ult. But aside from that, honestly, thankfully, there's not too many threats on the enemy team. So even though we're all squishy, it's still pretty much alright. And honestly, at this point, looking at this draft, I'm not going to trust my team to carry me. I can only really trust myself. So I'm going to go for the full carry build and not like the tanky build. So here, Alistar tries to go in. Pretty big mistake because Kai'Sa's not in range to follow up. We get a really good trade onto Alistar. You can see, while I was talking about all this squishiness and such, you can see that basically throughout this whole laning phase, all I've been really doing is spamming my auto attacks and Q onto the enemy. Of course, this achieves two things. Number one, it chunks them out. Number two, it helps me stack my souls. So here you can see basically I'm proccing my zombie ward. I'm attacking the ward. Since Tristana's coming over, I let her attack the ward a second time, and then I last hit the ward to get the zombie ward. So that's kind of one of the so-called zombie ward tricks that you can use to ensure you get the last hit on the ward to get the zombie ward proc. And by the way, guys, if your teammates have zombie ward, always give them the ward kill, because the utility from that ward is going to be, and the AD or AP that they get is going to be so much more useful than whatever 30 gold that you get. Anyways, here we're able to score a quick kill onto Alistar. Obviously, Alistar is just kind of randomly engaging non-stop, so we're getting a lot of kills onto him, which is amazing. But here we're also able to get a plate, and then we're just going to recall. Tristana in the meanwhile is still trying to get some tower damage, but I think she's overstaying by a lot to get this tower damage, so I'm not going to... Remember, I'm not going to follow my teammates' blind decisions. I'm going to make decisions for myself, and I know that we shouldn't be staying, and you know, I of course retreat. So she's still staying, and you can see now she's getting ganked by Kayn. Now, because Tristana is so mobile, she's actually able to exhaust, flash, and use her W to actually survive. But why, you know, why pop all of those stuff when you could have just left earlier and not, you know, greed for tower plates? I'm not even sure if she got the second tower plate, but whether she did or did not, even if she did get the tower plate, it's not worth it to blow your flash, your exhaust for a tower plate. You know, it's kind of a waste. So anyways, regardless, she's now back in the lane. I guess if we manage to push in, we will be able to see if she did manage to get the tower plate. But anyways, you know, regardless, we're still gonna stick to our game plan. Here Alistar is actually missing, and you can see here that he's actually roamed to mid lane. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm positioning past the wave aggressively to prevent Kai'Sa from farming the wave. You can see Kai'Sa is now just sitting under tower because she knows that we know Alistar is not here, so she can't just walk up. If not, Tristana and I can just hard engage onto her. I mean, Tristana's doing it anyway, but I'm pinging her away because I can see Kayn rotating here, so I don't really want to tangle when Kayn's on the way. Here I get a root onto Kayn, and if that Ash arrow hit, this is a free kill onto Kayn. I tried to ult him, but I missed the damage portion of my ult. Katarina ends up coming in and trying to clean up, but is honestly not too successful. The fight kind of roams downwards. Alistar is now back, coming from mid lane, of course, and Kayn is somewhere around where Alistar is. You can see Kayn over there, towards our bush. Now here we're in between Kayn and safety, so here I'm launching my W into the bush to try to get Kayn. Unfortunately, Alistar gets a nice 2-man knockup, and I'm going to actually have to back off. But Tristana decides to, you know, overcommit to trying to get the Kayn kill and ends up dying instead. Kayn actually gets out alive. Here, honestly, I can't kill Alistar, so I'm just trying to get some stacks onto him, soul stacks onto him. Orianna gets knocked up. I managed to land another beautiful root onto Kayn, but he's under tower, so once again, really difficult to walk up to kill him without putting us under threat from Alistar and Orianna, so we can't do that. Once again, we're trying to get our zombie ward stacks, so getting zombie ward stacks is a relatively big priority, so we always want to try to get, you know, our stacks of zombie ward. Obviously, we now have 2 stacks of zombie ward. We see a control ward over there. That's basically going to be our 3rd stack of zombie ward, so we want to hit on over and quickly just get that zombie ward stack. You can see that having a ward in that bush is going to be really helpful for us in that tri-bush, so that's kind of a beautiful situation as well. So here you can see the whole enemy team are at bot lane trying to get a kill on our Yone, who decided to go to bot side himself. I'm not too sure why, maybe to get the Herald by himself, but you know, the whole enemy team collapsed on him and they're now collapsing onto the Herald, which allows me and Tristana to actually quickly burst down the dragon, even though we don't actually have our jungler. And here the Ashe kind of overextends and gets tower plates, but the enemy team surprisingly ignores her and goes for Herald instead. If I was the enemy team, I would just rotate, kill Ashe, and then rotate back to the Herald, but they decide to go for Herald instead. So Ashe actually manages to get away despite overextending for the tower. Here once again, Kai'Sa is alone, so we're again trying to harass her and you know, maybe get a pick on her if we're lucky. Otherwise, we can at least try to deny minions. So here I'm ulting to bot lane because there's a fight going on there. I don't think very much more can be done here. Honestly, maybe me and Tristana could have worked together to try to fight Kai'Sa in the tower. But, you know, I decided to just back because I had my mana mune on base and I want to quickly get that so I can, you know, of course, stack up the mana mune more quickly. And yeah, Senna takes quite a long time to stack up the mana mune, so definitely getting that mana mune earlier is definitely way better than later. So here so far, we only have one kill and not too much action has, you know, happened. I mean, honestly, quite a lot of action has happened, but no kills or assists coming out of the action. Like the fight in mid lane, there was so many people just fighting, but nobody was really dying. So yeah, now I'm back in lane. Now that Alistar is back, of course I'm gonna have to back off. Here you can see Tristana just gets collapsed on by Kayn from walking through the jungle, and she basically just gets one shot. Nothing much I can really do here to help. Here another ward, I've seen another ward play, so here I'm just going to proc my 4-stack of zombie ward. Kayn tries to go in on me, I get a root onto him, he tries to go in again, and I'm able to use the tower to actually finish him off. So here I'm just going to pick up some fruit to get myself to a healthy state. Katarina goes in and finishes off the kill on Kai'Sa. And here I'm trying to ult to help Katarina, but unfortunately she dies a little bit too quickly for me to really help. Here I get a root onto both Alistar as well as the Orianna, but obviously I don't have the damage to kill them. I'm just you know, attacking them to get the soul stacks, which of course is gonna help me scale up more quickly, which is kind of the main goal of really attacking them at all here. So here now we just, you know, we reset. Right now 2-0, we're doing pretty well. We decide to actually go for the Merc Treads in this particular game because their team is really heavy in AP. They have Orianna, Teemo, as well as Kai'Sa, who's actually building AP here. But there is honestly a solid argument to go the AD boots as well, because Kayn is probably the biggest threat on us, but the issue is he's kind of the only AD on his team. Alistar, of course, does negligible damage, so I was really torn between which boots to get, but I decided to go for AP boots in the end because I felt that overall they would give me more value since there's 3 sources of AP on the enemy team, whereas there's really only Kayn who's the main source of AD. Of course, AP Kai'Sa still deals a decent amount of AD damage, so eventually I decided to go for the Magic Resist boots, which is honestly really a tough decision in this particular match. But most matches is a lot more simpler decision than what I had in this match. So here, I spot Kayn in the jungle. I'm immediately rotating, and here you can see I'm cutting off his escape. I managed to get the root, and I proc Kraken Slayer to secure the kill on him. 3rd kill of the game for me. Orianna's low. I'm waiting here because I don't want to overcommit, but now that she's so low, I flashed the wall. I actually canceled an auto there, but it wouldn't have killed her anyway, so I don't think it's too big of a deal. Honestly, actually, with the Kayn, not Kayn, with the Yone follow-up, actually, I think that would have been a kill, so maybe that is a mistake by me. Anyway, I land another root onto the Alistar. I'm just getting off some damage on them. Honestly, at this point in the game, I have decent damage because of my Kraken Slayer, but without any items and not too much soul stacks yet, I'm not doing too much damage. Remember, the mana mune is like half an item basically because it doesn't really give you very much until you evolve it into mirror mana, which is of course what I'm trying to do here. We're of course, you know, we're kind of getting there, but here at this point we want to of course pick up. In this particular match I chose to go for Black Cleaver because there wasn't really any shielding, so I didn't really need Edge of Night, or I didn't really need the Serpent's Fang for this particular match. Now I actually forgot to go over an important part in the loadout section, which is what enchant to go for. Now honestly with Senna, you could go for the revitalizing enchant to give your team more healing and shielding, but since you're playing carry mode Senna, I actually normally go for stasis since I'm trying to carry my team. Here another fight kind of breaks out, and I'm just like whacking people from behind obviously, but now my team has died, so I'm gonna have to run away. I root the Alistar to prevent him from engaging onto me. Kayn ends up overcommitting, so here together with Yone, we're trying to run down the Kayn. Kane manages to barely escape, but the the Kai'Sa actually ends up rooting him, and I'm able to actually tank a little bit of damage from the Kai'Sa, and I'm able to actually finish the kill onto Kane, which is of course beautiful. Another two more enchantment options you could get for Senna is actually going to be the Redemption as well as the Locket, which is of course going to be the supportive options as well. So here, once again, I'm getting my zombie ward. I believe that this full stacks my zombie ward. I believe this is the 5th ward I've killed in the game. So I am able to fully stack my zombie ward, I believe, to get the bonus stats as well. So another piece of good news is that I've actually managed to evolve my mana immune into my mirror mana. So I'm gonna be getting some actual damage now, and I'm also really close to getting my Black Cleaver. So yeah, Senna does have a lot of different enchantment options, but for the carry build, I generally gonna recommend Stasis because you want to carry and you want the Stasis for the protection anyways. But yeah, so here Black Cleaver completed. Now I'm 4-0. Of course, I've not been farming because I'm the support, but you can see that my goal is actually barely below Tristana, and I actually have more gold than like Yone and Katarina, for example. So definitely doing really well this game. Here we spot a rogue Kane. I land the root onto him, and we finish off the kill for our 5th kill of the game. Now, I am playing support, but as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I want to be the one to carry my team, so I'm not going to be, playing nice support and giving my team the kills. I'm going to be taking the kills for myself. Now, of course, there is a time and place where you should be giving your team kills, and there is a time and place that you should be taking kills for yourself. You can see here that, like, my Tristana is kind of feeding. I'm not going to be, of course, giving her kills, but the rest, and so is Ashe for that matter, but, regardless, in this game, I want to be the carry, so I'm going to take the kill so I can get more gold, and I can, of course, buy more items to carry my team. But in some games, even when you're playing Senna, you do want to actually give your team kills because, if they can carry you or if they're doing well, of course, giving them kills is always going to be good. You don't want to always be that selfish support Senna who always takes all the kills for yourself. It's kind of situational depending on what you see in the match and how your teammates are performing, how well they're playing, what's their KDA, which champ are they playing, is it a shutdown on the enemy team, etc, etc. Here, we have Katarina overextending and getting picked off. Now, this is kind of a trend in my team. I can see that my team's map awareness is horrible. We can see already twice, I think, Tristana overextended and one time she died for it. We also have, of course, Katarina over there overextending as well, and Ashe is overextended multiple times to get tower damage, so you can immediately tell this team does not have the best macro. Of course, Yone being the jungler, you can't really tell too much, but based on the fact he went to contest Rift Herald solo against the entire enemy team, kind of tells me that his macro probably isn't the best as well. So I from all this information, I'm kind of concluding that I'm gonna have to do the macro for my team. So here you can see I'm spam pinging Barret, I'm spam pinging on the Tristana to assist. She's not really getting the message. Either she is ignoring me or she just doesn't agree with the call, but eventually she does come over because we need her DPS to get this Baron. So I'm, of course, directing traffic, shot calling for my team because I know my team's macro probably isn't the best, so I'm directing them to go Baron. We do get Baron. And off of this Baron, I was intentionally going to recall as you can see here. However, a fight ends up breaking out. I still have a little bit of mana, so I'm going to try to actually help out in the fight because I don't know if my team is going to do well without me. So here, I'm basically just using my auto attacks since I don't have too much mana for spells. Here, as you can see, I'm just auto attacking down Alistar, auto attacking down Orianna, just auto attacking because not too much I can really do here. Without mana. I'm basically at 0 mana at this point. So here I really want to recall. But you can see as I'm channeling, Alistar goes in again. So once again, I can't leave my team high and dry. So I'm just instead now I'm just using Baron buff with my team to actually push down this tower instead, which we do manage to get. And you can see that my Ashe and Tristana has already gotten mid lane tower. So it's a pretty big Baron push, but without any reset, I'm not able to spend any of the gold that I've gotten from my kills and such, so this is kind of really bad. Obviously, we can't end the game because there is the shield, so here, finally, I'm pinging my team off. I'm just pinging to recall. Once again, they're not recalling. I managed to back for an entire Rune and Hurricane at this point, and thankfully, without me, they're still doing fine. They managed to pick up a kill onto Kane right as the 3rd dragon spawning, so this should be a free 3rd dragon for us, which is, of course, very ideal. Now in this match, I actually didn't even go for Stasis despite having 3 full items yet. Because honestly, if you notice, the Kayn hasn't really been targeting me at all, which is kind of the like concept that I talked about at the start. Like if everyone is squishy, really, who is really the squishy target here? Everyone's squishy, so you don't really know who to target. Like if you have like 3 tanks and 3 squishies, you know that you want to target the 3 squishies. But if you have 5 squishies, then which squishy do you target? You know, in my opinion, I should be targeted. I'm 7-0 at this point. I'm really fed, so they should be targeting me, but they really aren't. They're targeting like Ashe, they're targeting like Tristana, and I'm, you know, just happily in the backline just blasting away. I'm not really even under any threat. I haven't been ulted by Kayn. I haven't been jumped on by Kayn. And nobody else has really been trying to attack me. Kai'Sa hasn't jumped on me at all either. So yeah. So I'm fine here. So I don't really need to get the stasis too early. But we don't want to be cocky about it. So now we're actually going to pick up the stasis after we get our 3 items. Because, of course, as I said, we don't want to be cocky about it. When we finally need it, we won't have it. Here, Teemo in the mid lane, I'm just going for some damage. And I was going for damage, but he like reacts really slow. Like he sees me, he doesn't even try to walk away. So I'm just gonna root him and literally pick up a free kill. I don't know why he didn't walk away from me. Did he think I did no damage or something? But anyways, yeah. So I pick up the blue buff. You can see I'm taking the buffs. I'm taking the blue buff. I took the red buff just now because obviously, as I said, I'm trying to carry my team. So I'm taking the resources. Here I'm trying to help my team by ulting them, giving them that shield, and then I'm going to rotate over to try to get down some damage. Unfortunately, Yone ult actually pulls the enemy team away from me, so I can't actually DPS here. But instead here, I'm just going to get the root onto Orianna. Here, you can see, look at that damage even through the Orianna barrier. Able to sidestep the Orianna ulti here, and we are able to secure the bot lane tower. So here, honestly, I think that we're overstaying. I'm trying to actually retreat, but my unit ends up going in. So here, I'm just trying to back him up a little bit. I know I'm pretty safe because, honestly, Tristana and Yone are way more likely to die than me, in my opinion, because of just because of the way that they've been playing. So here, here we are actually going for the Baron because we're really far ahead, and you know we can just start the Baron just like that. Any team can come, but they're probably just gonna die if they come, so not too important. My previous control ward from the last Baron is actually still here, so I don't really even have to you know, put down anything to deny enemy vision. So we get the Baron. I don't back because I don't actually need to buy anything here. But here, Ashe arrow unfortunately misses the Orianna. If that arrow hit, it's a free kill onto Orianna, but unfortunately that's not the case. Elder Dragon is actually spawning in a second, so here we're actually just, you know, trying to secure the area basically. And here I'm gonna put down control ward into the Elder Dragon pit, of course, like so, ensure that there's no enemy vision here. Now we can see Kayn, briefly on the minimap, you can see Kayn coming toward our direction, so we are really cautious of trying to look out for a steal. Now I don't know where he is, that's the thing, because I thought he was in that tri-bush, but he's not. And he's not with his team either, so he is somewhere. You can see now that he's actually on the Krugs. You can see briefly that he's actually farming the Krugs, but here you can see he just dashes in. I'm immediately focusing the Kayn. Kayn actually nearly gets a smite. He actually smites, I believe he smites the... Oh, actually, that was not him, actually. The smite actually came from Yone, who actually smited the Baron to 27 health. And I managed to actually secure the Baron as well as the kill onto Kayn. Thankfully, Kayn did not get the steal there, but even so, I don't think it would have really mattered. We finished the game off anyway. But with all that, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual, and goodbye.